welcome to another animated look back. Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas is the last 2D animated movie that DreamWorks would ever do. And it's kind of an interesting movie to watch, because it's a bit of a mixed bag. In some ways the animation can look not fully rendered and a little dated, in other ways it looks absolutely fantastic. In some ways the characters are different and kick the basic trends, but in other ways they follow the cliches that have plagued so many movies of their day to the letter. In some ways it's extremely predictable, but in other ways it caught me off guard in certain spots. So the movie is definitely a mixed bag, but we'll have to wait and see if that is a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, this was the last 2D movie that DreamWorks ever made, but was that because that 3D was just pushing 2D out, or was it just that bad? Let's find out. The story of Sinbad is about the classic swashbuckling hero of Middle Eastern folklore who sails the seas looking for treasure and adventure. On his journey, he runs into his old friend, a prince named Proteus, who is guarding the legendary Book of Peace. But Sinbad is a pirate, and while he doesn't take pleasure in the idea of stealing it...
A long time ago, you and I were friends. If that ever meant anything to you, prove it now.
You're right. That was a long time ago.
Okay, maybe a little bit. Hey, a pirate's gotta eat. But in the end, he decides not to steal the Book of Peace, even though he's approached by the god of discord, Eris, who really wants to get her hands on the Book of Peace.
Steal the book for ransom, and you'll be rich enough to lounge on an island beach. Steal the book for me, and you can buy the beach.
She decides to go ahead and steal a book for herself, but frames Sinbad for the crime. His old friend Proteus believes him when he says he didn't do it, and puts his own life on the line to give Sinbad 10 days to return the Book of Peace, or Proteus would die in his place.
If Sinbad does not return, you will be put to death in his place.
I understand.
So be it.
Along the way, he faces many dangers, and Proteus' fiancée Marina tags along to make sure he stays on track.
Are you sure you know what...
Yes, we've done this kind of thing before. Look. No, there is no other way. And yes, you have my permission to stand there quietly and get a free lesson in sailing.
So let's ask the age-old question that we always ask here on Animated Look Back. How's the animation? Let's just say I'm of two minds about it. Well, it's amazing.
It's crap.
It's breathtaking.
It's unfinished.
Just take a look at the way Eris moves and how her hair transitions throughout the scene and how her whole world feels like it's going to jump out of the screen at you.
Just look at some of these monsters, will you? This old 2D, 3D effect blend that they're trying to do here never fully works. Even later in the film, when the monsters look a little bit better, they never feel like a part of the same world.
Okay, sure, but you know, the 2D is just so spectacular that it makes up for all that.
Some of these 3D monsters look like they'd fit right at home in a Nintendo 64 game.
Oh, sorry, I just had to put myself together before I made up another personality in my head.
Yeah, you wouldn't want another one in your head.
Anyway, the animation, just like the rest of the movie, is kind of a mixed bag. In the end, I would say it's more good than bad. I mean, the 3D, toothy thing that they're trying to do doesn't fully work, but you know what? It still is handled well enough. They do have some cool scenes, like with the sirens who are trying to tempt the sailors. That's really cool. Even if their design, because they're 3D animation, doesn't make them feel like they're part of the world, the design of them is still cool and creepy and gives you a lot of atmosphere in the way the scene is portrayed overall. For the other monster, it really kind of depends. I mean, the sea monster that attacks the ship in the beginning, that looks really, really fake. That's probably the worst looking thing in the film. The snowbird that attacks them, that looks fine, but I will say that there was always something off about its claws to me. I don't know, it just looked like they're too long and solid. Like, how would you even walk around on those things? But where the animation really stands out is how they do Eris.
Rise and shine. It's a brand new day. and the mortal world is at peace. But not for long.
She is downright gorgeous, and I'm not just talking about the drawings of her, I just mean the character and the way they animate her is so good.
Eris, the goddess of discord. No doubt you've seen my likeness on the temple walls.
You know, they don't do you justice.
The way they use her hair to change her size and location is so well done. Any scene that she is in instantly results in her stealing the show. The animation on her is just that good. And I remember way back in my review of Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, I remember, I can pronounce the name correctly. I remember I said that I felt like that movie was trying to start the blend of 2D, 3D animations together, and it was a shame that it didn't continue on. I didn't realize that they tried that again with this movie, and it didn't really have the same impact. I think as they overly tried to rely on this CG, I feel like in Spirit there's only a couple scenes that really did, and the rest they were using the CG to get interesting camera shots. And while there is a lot of good, interesting camera shots in this film as well, I feel like they're relying more to show off these giant creatures, and because of that, it's kind of like a 50-50 on whether they feel like they're actually going to be part of the world or not. Still, I'm glad that they tried to make this 2D, 3D blend work. It just didn't make any sense when after, around this time, it just made more sense to go full 3D. But I want to stretch that, for the most part, the 3D animation isn't bad. It's fine. It works fine for the scenes. I'm invested in the scenes. The only one that I'm really kind of distracted is the squid in the beginning. The rest of them, I only would really overthink about their animation because I'm reviewing the movie. If I was watching it just for myself for no other reason, I probably wouldn't think all that hard on it. But it does work for some things. I want to say, like, I think the boat is mainly, a lot of the shots with the boat are 3D, and those shots work very well. Now let's start talking about the characters, and let's get started with the villain of the film, Eris, played by Michelle Pfeiffer.
I'm going to let you live. But there's just one little thing you have to do. Get the Book of Peace and bring it to me.
First of all, I want to just say, I love the villain scheme. And that's surprising, because at first I thought it didn't make any sense. I mean, Eris tries to hire Sinbad to steal the Book of Peace, which, a little bit on the nose, right? A Book of Peace? Is there a Book of War?
Oh, wow. It's a legendary Book of War. I wonder what it does.
But anyway, I felt like, why did she even try to hire Sinbad to do it when she could just steal it herself? But then you find out at the end, that wasn't even the point.
Proteus, you knew he would take my place.
What a clever little man you are.
The Book of Peace, she has absolutely no interest in. What she does have interest is in Proteus and how he is probably going to be a great leader that's going to unify his kingdom and cause peace to be throughout the land. And that to her is more dangerous than this Book of Peace. And I love what that says, that like a good leader who's going to do the right thing can have a bigger impact than any symbolic book or whatever can ever do. So the whole point of her scheme is that she wants Proteus to die while Sinbad runs off leaving him to die.
You thought I'd run. Then Proteus would die, and Syracuse would be
left without the next rightful king and tumble into glorious chaos.
And I love what this does for Sinbad and his character. Because in order to save his friend, he just has to do the right thing. And that is something that his character struggles with. I'll get more into it when I talk about Sinbad, but I just love the way the symbolism of all that works for his character. But for Eris, her Achilles heel is that she just doesn't see that people can better themselves. She views Sinbad as a thief and a crook and selfish, but she never considered that he could be anything more than that he could overcome his hang-ups.
I don't suppose a heartfelt apology would do.
Heartfelt? From you? Sinbad, you don't have a heart.
And because she doesn't see that people can be better than their base instincts, that's what loses her the day.
Maybe you can fool these people, but I know who you are. You're a selfish, unprincipled liar.
Michelle Pfeiffer is also really great for the character. Her voice is very seductive, but also has that shade of menace underneath that makes you just really feel like this is someone not to be trifled with.
Sinbad, when a goddess gives her word, she's bound for all eternity.
All right, you're on.
I knew you'd see it my way.
And as I said, the animation backs that up. I mean, there's a scene where she's like having a bath in the cosmos, and you're just like, how powerful is this being, and how on earth are we supposed to stop her?
Enough talking. Time for some screaming.
Take all that together, and I think Eris is one of the best DreamWorks villains out there.
I've got places to go, things to destroy, stuff to steal.
Next, I want to talk about Marina, the ambassador and love interest played by Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I'm here to make sure you get the Book of Peace. Or bring back your dead body if you fail.
Really? And how are you gonna pull that off?
By whatever means necessary.
She is a character that I have a lot to talk about, because let me just say this, first off, the romance between her and Sinbad is as bad as sin.
What?
Thank you!
You're welcome.
No problem!
Don't worry about it.
I won't!
Good.
Goodbye!
Bye to you.
I mean, if I had no idea when this movie was released and you asked me after watching it, I would be able to pin it exactly to the early 2000s just by the way the romance alone is handled. Do they hate each other from the start?
Spoiled.
Disrespectful, pretentious,
Deluded.
pompous, self-centered,
High and mighty.
untrustworthy, ungrateful, impossible, insufferable.
Yep. Did the falling in love part come out of nowhere?
It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen.
What was on the ship?
You.
And best of all, was she involved with his best friend in any way?
He's been planning this day his whole life.
And soon, it will be your responsibility.
Our responsibility.
Ding, 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 ding. Now, to be fair, this isn't the worst I've ever seen this handled. They do have this fun banter, and they have this thing to her character where she loves the sea.
I've always loved the sea. I even dreamed of a life on it. But it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, ironic. A character named Marina is gonna love the sea. Woo! Didn't see that one coming. But it is symbolic of her character who loves more than just Sinbad. She also wants his life and the freedom of being out on the open sea. Her attraction to him is the same attraction that she has to the life of the sea. And I will admit that handles it a little bit better than most movies did at the time. To her, Sinbad and the sea, they are both rough and sometimes infuriating, but also free and calming. Now, don't get me wrong. When she says that she loves him at the end, I'm like, since when?
I can't watch you die. I love you.
Oh, and let's not also forget that he said that he loved her at first sight when he saw her as a kid or teen or whatever. You know, I gotta say, I actually find that really creepy when you think about it. Think about it. When you're a teenager, if you are like 15, 16, whatever, and you see another 15, 16-year-old and you instantly fall in love with them, fine, you're young, whatever. But holding on to that love all these years later when you haven't even seen them in years and years and years, the first time he sees her at the beginning of this movie since the last time he saw her, and you're still hanging on to that, that makes you a little bit of a creep, I gotta say. Now, do I feel an attraction between their characters? Sure, even though they go through the typical I hate you, now I like you, I do feel that there's a bit of an attraction there. I can buy that. But love, that's a whole different thing. I don't see that, I don't buy that. When they say they're in love with each other, I just rolled my eyes so hard they fell in the back of my head and I could see my brain. And look, I know this is a personal preference to the character who say that they're in love, but people barely know each other. It's always bugged me. But I'd be lying if I said that Love at First Sight didn't work in some movies. I just really don't feel like it worked in this one. And honestly, all it does is makes me feel really bad for Proteus. This guy who put his life on his line for his best friend, and he's stealing his girl! Okay, Proteus, okay, this is a little bit of a stressful situation. But don't worry, your best buddy Sinbad's on it. And you know what? Marina told me that she was going to sneak aboard his ship, so I just know she will keep him on the straight and narrow and focused on finding the Book of Peace. Oh, yes. You know, I'm just so glad that my best friend and my fiancé are doing their best to keep me alive. I mean, sure, I'm sure that Sinbad still has feelings for her. I know he left this kingdom because he was in love with her, but, you know, that's no problem. She's not gonna do anything. I mean, it's not like Sinbad has the charm of Brad Pitt or anything. Guard! Guard! I changed my mind, I'm gonna switch! No. Oh. But beyond the romance, I do think that she's actually a fun character. She has her moments, like when the sirens are all enchanting all the men aboard the boat and she and the dog have to save everybody. Stuff like that is great. And then later in the film when she's taken by a monster and Sinbad has to save her, she doesn't feel like the damsel in distress because it's not like she's been taken at every corner. She's had to help him and he's had to help her, so it's more of a mutual thing.
You're rescuing me.
Yes, if that's what you want to call it. But this is gonna cost you another diamond. Rescues aren't part of the usual tourist package.
Overall, Marina, though, is not the most interesting character, but she isn't boring. She is fun, and look, I might not buy that her and Sinbad are in love, but I can at least buy that she's in love with the sea and wants to go with him to continue his life. And that's more than what I can say with a lot of these movies when they just do the love at first sight sort of thing. At least the sea is a big factor in her motivation as a character, as opposed to, which guy do I like more? Now, Proteus, he doesn't get really a whole lot to do as a character. He's just kind of the kind, nice guy who's just always going to do the right thing and is always the most noble person, and that really makes him boring.
You can't be serious. You disappear for 10 years, show up and rob me?
I wish it wasn't you. I do. Really.
But it is me, Sinbad.
He also takes the breakup really, really well. I mean, she doesn't even really say anything, and he's just like, yeah, I know you're probably in love with him. See you later. No, Marina, you don't have to say anything more. I totally understand. I mean, he's smart, he's charming, he's a scoundrel. I totally understand. It's not like he's been treating you with sexist remarks and making you feel inferior as a person, and I've just been treating you like an equal and like a loved one. No, I'm sure that's not the case at all. Well, good luck with that. I hope you don't get scurvy. Now, while that doesn't make him an interesting character on his own, it does make him a good playoff of Sinbad, who is the character that everyone looks at as a scoundrel and untrustworthy and bad. He's the one who believes in him. He's the righteous one who believes that his friend can be more than who he thought he would be.
What are you doing?
You claim that Eris stole the book. Steal it back. You're good at that.
Hey, look, I will not be responsible for your life.
You would do the same for me.
No, I wouldn't.
Because Sinbad is viewed as his opposite, a liar, a schemer, a thief. And so in the end, when Sinbad has to do the morally right thing and put his own life on the line to spare the life of his friend, just like he did for him, it's just a good parallel to have of the character who's doing everything right and Sinbad who's just trying to be better.
I did my best. Wasn't enough.
No.
Now, the crew of Sinbad's ship, I also think are done very well. I mean, you have his first mate, Kale, played by Dennis Haysbert, and he is fun, and Sinbad and him work off of each other very well, have a lot of funny scenes.
Think of the sun.
It's monsoon season.
Oh, then the women.
They're cannibals, Sinbad.
Exactly.
The other crew, they're nice as well, but nothing really spectacular. They just stand out, are a little bit different, have a few quirky lines, but nothing really beyond that. Except for the fact that they have one of the best adult jokes in all DreamWorks history that they set up 3 times throughout the course of the film in order to pay off.
Months on the sea with nothing but eggs and pickles? You don't know what that can do to a man.
Luxurious living quarters with 3 gourmet meals a day. Pickles, eggs, and pickles. I was trapped. A sword at my throat, at my chest, at my pickles and eggs!
It's funny. Oh, perfectly set up. So as the side characters, they get the job done, and they get a few laughs, and they are different enough. But now we come to the main character, Sinbad, played by Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt, while I will say his voice is distinctive and you can recognize it, I don't feel like it's as obvious as Brad Pitt's voice is like, you know, George Clooney was in Fantastic Mr. Fox. It doesn't stand out. He is doing the voice of a character and he inhabits that character well enough. If you're listening for Brad Pitt's voice, you're thinking about it and you can see it, but you can hear it. But I feel like only if you're really thinking about it. I feel like if you're just watching the movie, it's not something that's forced into your brain. It's just like, oh yeah, that's Brad Pitt.
I'll bet you 10 crowns you're about to put those swords down.
I'll take that bet.
Guards, put away your swords.
I am with the character on the journey that he's on, and I'm not distracted by his voice, and I like how the character changes over the course of the film. Like I said before, Sinbad is viewed in this movie as a con artist, a swindler, a pirate.
What is he doing here?
At least he's not out robbing someone.
That's because everyone worth robbing is here.
And that's all that a character like Eris sees in him. But I think that's great because in the end of this movie, Sinbad doesn't win because he conned her or he tricked her or anything like that. He wins because he did the morally right thing to do. He does it because my friend put his life on the line for me. He gave me a chance. I failed. Now I gotta come up to my responsibilities and take his place. And that is just what the character does. And because he does this, Eris' promise that she would give the book back goes into effect because he put his life on the line. And I love that!
I told the truth. And wasn't there something about being bound for all eternity?
He did the right thing because of the sacrifice that his friend did for him and all the things that Marina has been influencing him over the course of the film. Now, that second part I don't really buy as much, but I do buy that the character has gone through a lot and hasn't had enough time to dwell on everything to come to that decision. Now, Sinbad is also a good, fun character throughout the course of the film. He's the typical type of swashbuckling character, a little full of himself, a little pompous, but he always gets in over his head and then finds a way out of it. There's a lot of fun action, there's a lot of fun moments overall.
Give that guy a raise.
However, I will say that there is one big problem with his character. It's the way he talks to Marina.
Are you crazy? I saved your life.
Oh, I would have been fine. I always am. A ship is no place for a woman.
Look, clearly I can't appeal to your honor, but I have other ways of convincing you.
Really? Oh, if he starts hugging your leg, it means he likes you. Hey, lady, I've seen the highborn boys your type hangs out with. I'm the only man you've ever met. That's exactly why women shouldn't drive.
All of his woman jokes are just so dated and bad. I mean, to each their own when it comes to humor, but I don't think these jokes are funny. It makes the movie feel dated. And I will say also that there's some modern talk in this film that I does feel takes a little bit away from the timelessness of the film.
Yep, this'll do. But not for first class.
But it doesn't come at the expense of the character, which is what I feel like these, oh, this is why women can't drive and stuff like that. That's what, those moments, I really do make the character just look like a dick. But overall, I do enjoy Sinbad as a character, and I like the lesson that the movie uses to teach with him, that even if your whole life you've been called worthless, a villain, a thief, a swindler, a liar, if you do the right thing, when it really counts, you can still change the world.
Well, well, well. This has got to be a little embarrassing for you, Eris.
Don't push your luck, Sinbad.
Overall, I would say Sinbad is a fun movie. It's nothing spectacular, it's nothing mind-blowing. There are some really good things on it. Honestly, I still say Eris is one of the top 5 best DreamWorks villains of all time, for sure. But there are a lot of more typical by-the-book things when it comes to a lot of the characters. I'm also not really surprised that it isn't really well known as a DreamWorks classic, because I feel like I don't know how you would advertise this movie. I mean, you aren't marketing it to the really young kids. I mean, there's some adult humor in here, there's lots of action, there's lots of suggestive stuff. It isn't like Shrek that's going to appeal to the young teens either. So it was kind of in like a dead zone. It's too old for young kids, it's too young and stupid for teenagers. You know, it's like, it's in that middle. This This movie, I looked it up, and I'm not sure how reliable my sources are, but they said that this movie was made with $100 million and only made back $80 million at the box office. I'm sure it made it back in DVD sales and whatnot, but it was not a big box office topper. But I don't care about its history with all that. All I can say is, like, I enjoyed this film. I thought it was fun. I thought it was enjoyable. It's nothing spectacular, but there are some really spectacular parts about it that I really enjoyed. In other ways, it just follows the basic trend. So, as I've said at the beginning of this film, it's a mixed bag. The villain is great, the hero is fun, sure the romance plot is lacking, but it isn't cringeworthy, it's more just by the book. The voice acting is all around good to great, and it keeps me guessing. Which, honestly, that's the thing I love about the movie, is that it caught me off guard at some times, which is something that is so rare for movies to do anymore. So if you haven't seen this film, well, sorry for spoiling all of it, but that's on you. But if you haven't seen this film and you were interested in checking it out, it might be worth it for you. I am giving Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas a 6.5 out of 10. I think it's an above average movie. I think that it's not necessarily a good movie. It's not like it's one that I would give a 7. I feel like a 6.5 is just on the cusp of that. A few things that you tweaked here and there with the characters, with the romance, and with some of the animation and for the 3D parts. I thought it could be a really good movie, but in this case, I think it's just an above average movie. So thanks for watching my animated look back, and I have not been getting these out quick enough. That's on me, I'm so sorry. But I'm going to try to motivate myself and put myself on a deadline because my next animated look back is going to be a Christmas movie. That's right. So make sure you put your vote in the community page on which one you want. Your choices are Arthur Christmas, Polar Express, or Rise of the Guardians. So make sure you head over to the community page and vote for whichever one you want me to review next. But you better be quick because I got to get this by Christmas. So, there's not going to be a whole lot of time for voting. In any case, I'll see you on the next Animated Look Back.
Spike! Spike! Down!
What does the Book of Peace do?